Hey y'all, I'm Niccara, and welcome to another episode of But Make It Books, a podcast where we are bookishly healing through life. Come on y'all, let's go healing. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of But Make It Books. I'm Niccara, and I am so blessed to be in the presence of LaDarrion Williams. We're going to get into conversation. We're going to get into kikiri and all the things that it includes. So what we'd like to do on But Make It Books is start off, we're from Baltimore, so we start off with a snowball. That's our form of an icebreaker because snowballs, I know everybody talks about that in New Orleans, but no.
No.
So if you could pick an album or a song that defines the moment you are in now, what would you pick?
Ooh, that's a good question. Album or song
That defines the moment you are in now.
you're in now. Okay. I mean, we were just talking about it, Beyonce. I do have to say Cowboy Carter. Like the song on that album for me is American Requiem. That's the moment that I'm in now. Like just it's like that righteous anger, but also like I'm here, like I'm gonna make my mark. I have things to do, I have stories to tell. Like that's like my song right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question.
I would have to say either it's three songs: American Requiem, Ya.
Okay.
Or, Heated.
See, Heat is my song.
That's my song.
That's like my song when I need to get like
bitch. That's how I feel right now because there's a lot of flip-floppery and I don't appreciate it. Everybody got to stand on what they say and mean what you say.
Okay, listen, Geminis.
We have some Geminis we respect. Kendrick.
Yeah.
Andre 3000.
Yes.
That's another Gemini man we can appreciate. The other one that shall not be named, I can't. I don't have.
Listen, we can't name them. We can't name them.
So we're going to start off with a little bio of you.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to step into the bold new version of Black fantasy with LaDarrion Williams, a groundbreaking LA-based creative force who is revolutionizing the genre landscape. Through his work as a playwright, filmmaker, author, and screenwriter, Williams is crafting spaces where Black characters and stories can flourish in fresh new directions. His debut novel, Blood at the Root, emerges from an already impressive creative foundation. As a resident playwright and co-creator of the Black Creators Collective, Williams has established himself as a vital voice in theater. His commitment to amplifying Black voices in theater reached new heights when he produced the North Hollywood's first Black Playwrights Festival at the prestigious Waco Theater Center. My accent comes out sometimes.
Listen.
The world of Blood at the Root has already captivated audiences through Williams' award-winning short film adaptation, which has found success in both YouTube and Amazon Prime. We won't have to wait long for more in this amazing series because the sequel of Bones at the Crossroads is set to release this year on July 29th.
Yes.
So in your bio, you're listed because we need to applaud you and who you are, okay? I know I've been watching you from a distance. I definitely follow you on Threads because you're hilarious. And
listen.
And what you're doing right now is probably the most impactful thing that we have seen really in this genre. So everyone has a story within them. That's what Sadiqa Johnson always says. That is dying to be told. That is like rising to the surface. What sparked the initial seed for you to come up with Blood at the Root? And how did your personal experiences influence the way you approach writing fantasy for Black readers?
Yeah. So for me, like the spark for it was, I have to say that it was when I was 17 years old. Like, listen, when I was in high school, like Hunger Games was really big, like Twilight was really big. I don't know if you remember, like we had to go to like the midnight premieres, like the movie of the movies, like on that Thursday night, like right with the costumes, and like the midnight releases, and I love that era because it it showed that like, teenagers can like conquer the world, right?
Hmm.
But let's be honest, for me personally, as a black boy from the South, from Alabama, I didn't see I didn't see my friends in those type of stories unless we were the side characters and we were only there to help propel the white main character's, story forward.
Right.
And so that kind of made me fall out of love with like YA, like the genre itself a little bit, because I was just like, yo, like I'm tired of not seeing my friends. I'm tired of not seeing me or my family saving the world.
Yeah.
And that was for years. Like I stopped reading for years. And then like around the end of 2019, 2020, I was okay. I was like, well, I want to get back into reading because we stuck inside watching Moesha, the Parkers, girlfriends, and I was like on Twitter like randomly at that time, and I was just like, yo, like you just tweet out your random thoughts.
Hmm.
And I was like, yo, what if Harry Potter went to an HBCU in the South? Because I think I was rewatching Harry Potter at that time. Like,
Hmm.
I was like, man, this would be so cool if this was like, if Harry was a black boy and Hermione was a black girl and Harry
Hmm.
was a black, like, this would be really cool. And when I tweeted that, I think that really got a lot of people like excited on Twitter
Yeah.
for like that type of story because I don't know if we've always wanted that letter, right, from
Hmm.
Hogwarts to say that we were accepted. And so people were like, you got to make that. I don't know if you should write it as a short film or a TV series. I was like, we can barely get hand sanitizer. And you want me to go out and film a short film? Okay, I'll do it. And so I called my friends up. I was like, y'all, I got this idea. I don't know how I'm gonna write it or what it's gonna be about, but I was like, I just see this young black boy getting accepted to a magical HBCU. Like, what does that look like? And so I sat down and I wrote the short film script, and we're in the middle of the pandemic. This is like September, August of 2020. So everything is literally shut down. And my friends was like, let's do it. And so, we ran all over LA with our little cameras and boom mics and acting like we were shooting magic from our fingers and sneaking onto like the UCLA campus.
Yes.
And I knew then that it was something very special about this story,
Hmm.
and just the scene that we shot with the grandmother, Mama Aya and Malik. That's when I really really knew. I was like, okay, I have a story. I have something to say about this young boy's life. And when it was going viral, people were really was like, yo, like keep going. And when we put it out, people were having like watch parties. People were like, tweeting about it and TikToking about it and putting it on Instagram.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, we have like the audience, so
Right.
Hollywood is going to come calling, right? And as soon as things started opening back up, I was like, okay, this is our chance. I got the pilot script. I got the short film. All I need is the studio to make it
Right.
happen. Nothing. No calls. Like I couldn't get a job in Hollywood with the script. They were saying we love the script, but it's not marketable, or we already have something like this. They will always say that, and that went on for like a year. So this is like 2021, like all going into 2022, and I was just so embarrassed. I was so depressed about it because I was like, I thought this was gonna be my big break. I don't understand. And at the time, my friend was like, "Well, maybe you should turn it into a book." And I was like, "Maybe." And then that's when I remembered about the YA section back in high school, and I was like, "Well, let me go to Barnes and Noble and let me see what's going on with like the YA section." And that's when I knew about Children of Blood and Bone. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then The Hate You Give, I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then when I went to my local Barnes and Noble, I went to the young adult fantasy section and I called over the clerk and I said, "Hey, like I'm looking for uh, a YA fantasy store with a black boy lead, like just him dealing with magic and not." And at that time, it was a lot going on in 2020 as far as like the
Yeah.
pandemic and also riots, right? Like racial
Right.
injustice.
Right.
And I was like, as a black man, I just want to escape. Like that's
Yeah.
when Lovecraft came out, and I was like, I want something like this. That's when Black is King came out. I was like, I want
Hmm.
something like this, but for us in a book. And the clerk, we were looking up and down, and we couldn't find it. Like we literally couldn't find a book where one, the black boy was on the cover, and two, it was his story, and it was without at that time, it was without police brutality, him being killed to teach white readers about racism. And she was very embarrassed. And I was like,
Poor baby.
it's not your fault, but like
Right. You didn't do it.
you
You don't
didn't
talk
do
to
it,
the
but this
publishers
okay.
last that I knew. Do you?
Okay. I mean, I hope you don't, because it's like, yeah, I remember feeling like that 17-year-old kid again. And I was like, okay, for me, I need to do something. So I made that declaration in that Barnes and Noble. I was like, I'm going to go turn that short film
Mhm.
into a book. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're going to figure it out. So I went back home, locked myself in, and I wrote the first draft of Blood at the Root in like 12 days because it just
Mhm.
poured out of me. And I was like, oh snap. Like I had Malik, and then I had the grandmother and
Yeah.
the Lawaz and like his friends and like this college. I was like, oh, like it really poured out of me in like 12 whole days. And I was like, I have a book.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, that so now what I do with it, and like, obviously, that's that's how it came to be. Like that's how
Yeah.
Blood at the Root started off as a short film, and then I wrote it as a book. And obviously, like the whole publishing, that's a different conversation. But like that's how I start. That was the spark of Blood at the Root,
Wow.
from a little from a tweet to a short film into a book that I didn't know what I was going to do with at that time.
I really truly love that. And there's something else you touched on.
Yeah.
And I would love to talk about that. Like throughout the book, you explored a lot of, you know, intergenerational trauma.
Hmm.
And what made you feel like fantasy was the right genre to really explore that? Yeah, through Malik and everything he's
Yeah,
going through.
I think so. For fantasy, I wanted, because we as Black people, we always talk about lineage, right? We always talk
Mhm.
about our heritage, and like, and going through, especially being from the South, going through what like my family went through, as far as like being in the church, but also having like these questions about like our ancestry. And I
Yeah.
was like, I really would like to know, where do we come from? Like, why
Mhm.
do we act in a certain way? Why do we do certain things when we get together for like
Right.
barbecues or funerals? Like, why do we cry and hoop and holler in the church in the funeral, and then an hour later we go, we play,
Playing
dominoes or
spades, dominoes.
spades, and cussing each other out and laughing and listening to
Listen.
music and dancing. And I was just like, this is just so beautiful. And so where did it come from? And so I started asking questions about that. And then I started getting into like not only like the way we lived and the customs, but also like our spirituality. Like, where did that come from? Like hoodoo and voodoo. I'm like, oh, that's just kind of cool, because we never really learned about it, in schools. And when you see it on television, and I remember watching American Horror Story Coven, which is one of the
Ooh,
best seasons of the show.
listen.
Anyway,
Correct. Because Angela Bassett. Can we?
Angela Bassett.
I do not watch American Horror Story like that. That's the only season I watched because it was
Listen,
good. That shit was very
it
good. Like Angela
it
Bassett put her whole foot on the gas. I was like, this is probably one of the best authentic seasons that I think Ryan Murphy probably has ever done.
exactly. And I was like, what is like, who is Marie Laveau? Like, what is
Yes.
that about? And realizing that she was a real woman, and it really, pumped me up to learn about like that spirituality, and how Black folks are like, we really went through it. And also our ancestors, right? Our enslaved
Mhm.
ancestors, like they used to pray and sing and dance around the fire,
Right.
and call upon the spirits to help them get through,
Right.
uh, you know, the trials and tribulations that they were going through, and that was placed on them.
Mhm.
And so that really, I was like, well, what does that look like through the lens of a 17-year-old boy? And him learning, because at that age, you could go on different paths. Like, you can go on the path, go to college, or you can stay home and get into some trouble, or you can have this. But also, I realized that the grandmother, how important she is to the Black family unit, and how
Mhm.
she is the weaver, and like how she's like, she spins everything into gold,
Yeah.
and she's the connector, right? And so I wanted that for that 17-year-old boy, because honestly, for me, my grandmother died when I was a young age, and I'm not having that guidance and that information about our family, because a lot of times when the grandmother dies in the family, like a lot of the things that the family does die as well. Like the family
Like soul
spreads
food.
and soul food. Okay, like really, like literally, like, and it took that young black boy to get the
Yes.
family back together, and that's a lot of inspiration from Blood at the Root came to be. It's from like one of those movies. And it's just,
Mhm.
and so I was very interested in that, but also adding magic on top of it, because I was like, well, the magical HBCU component of the story is really cool. Like that's the hook. That's gonna get people interested in the book or the movie or the TV
Mhm.
series. But when they crack it open, they're gonna learn about a lot of history that
Mhm.
honestly now they're trying to get rid of,
Right.
and they're trying to say it never happened. So
Right.
I think that was the reason why I kind of infused like generational trauma through this book. Like Malik deals with it. He's dealing with the sins of the father. He's dealing with the sins of the mother or the
Mhm.
grandmother and all these family secrets. And you always hear about like sweeping things under the rug, but
Right.
then just because you sweep things under the rug doesn't mean it's a clean house.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to get aired out. And I think a lot of times black kids, a lot of the generational trauma is placed on their shoulders and it
Yes.
strips away their innocence. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to have all that conversation, not only in Blood at the Root, but in Bones at the Crossroads and also in book 3. Like
Mhm.
just this, how do we break it? What do we do to break that generational chain or, stronghold in our family? So that's where it really came from for me.
Oh, I really love that. And
Yeah.
the other thing too that I loved that you did was actually deal with class issues within the Black community. And so I
Hmm.
would really love for you to talk about that because you had the what is it? The Jack and Jill blacks,
Hmm. Hmm.
the
Hmm.
very bougie upper echelon blacks. Then you have Malik. He's like, how do I fit into all of this? Because
Yeah.
I don't know about all of this. And then he has his roommate who is like, I'm in it, but I'm not really in it. He's trying to guide him. So just
Yeah.
definitely like touch on that too.
Of course, yeah. So, you always hear like, especially with black people, like living high off the hog, right? Like
Hmm.
they think they all that. They think that just because they got money, they think they this. And I created, and for your listeners, I created the Bonclair family unit and like the Khoisan tribe as like these people, like these upper echelon people who probably have parties and
Hmm.
they converse amongst themselves, but then also ignoring like the real issues that are going on in our community. That's why I love Alexis, the character, the love interest Alexis, because she
Yes.
she she questions a lot in the
And I
school and
almost
in
fought
it.
her. I'm sorry. Don't do my
I
friend like
know.
that. I almost fought her.
I know. But I love the conversation that she brings up to Malik. And Malik doesn't know all of this stuff because he's like, okay, I just thought it was a school, but I didn't know it came with this much baggage. And, having Chancellor Bonclair be very like suit and tie and
Hmm.
you speak with improper, grammar and like you need to tighten up, you're reckless. But that's how it is. And I've heard from a lot of friends who went to HBCUs, and this is no shade to any school or anything, but like when they meet different type of black people from all over the country, like they meet people with different experiences. Like there are people that that can pay for their college with one check, and there's
Hmm.
some people that got to work in the cafeteria or clean
Right.
the school to pay for their. So it's different,
Like the
classes
Whitley
and
Gilbert versus the Kimberly Reese. It's not the
exactly,
same thing. You really got
exactly.
to
And
work at the
I
pit.
I gotta work at the yeah, gotta work at the pay. And I remember like conversations around like All American, like the first season, how like Spencer was like this poor black kid
Hmm.
going to like Beverly, but I didn't want the poor black kid to go to the white school and him
Right.
feeling all of this. I'm like, no, let's keep it in house.
Hmm.
And so and that brings up a lot of questions and a lot of questions that Malik has. Like, wait a minute, so y'all have magic, you have the power to change certain things for the black
Hmm.
community. It goes back to the Killmonger
Killmonger. I was
conversation,
gonna say
right?
the
Yeah.
Killmonger.
And I was inspired by the Black Panther because I was asking questions. I was like, well, I don't know. If I was a king of a African country, I wouldn't be just sitting by like
Right.
for hundreds and hundreds of years and watch people all over the globe that looks like me deal with these certain things. So I really wanted to place that in front of this main character Malik, to kind of showcase like, yes, it's a perfect school, you may think, but
Yeah.
like when you get deeper into it, like there's some cracks and there's some issues that not only book one is going to address, but book two is going to address even like, biphobia and homophobia
Yeah.
and rich versus poor or this magic or that magic,
Right.
like why does he get to have this and why don't I have that? It's like, because, we all deal with that.
Right.
Like we deal with that as a people and
We
we have
do.
these questions. And so I wanted to put that in the book to kind of like sprinkle them in and like kind of address certain things. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons
Man, you
why.
brought me back to my main question too. So you have a lot of different love stories, which I felt
hmm
liberating and also deeply tender.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your decision to center like different romances that are not necessarily heteronormative and why that was
hmm
important for you?
Yeah. So for for D-Lo character and a lot of people, I
I
do have to
know
say
people
this.
got mad. I was
This
like, that is not why they named
that is not no.
Jesus, y'all.
And
My
and per,
God.
pe- and that's a conversation that I'm going to have in book two as well. And D'Lo literally has it in the book. And he says like everything when it comes to black men, everything is tied to our sexuality. Like even my
Hmm.
name is a nickname that my parents gave me. Like that
Right.
has nothing to do with my sexuality. And
Listen.
people thought I was being, and also D'Lo is a character that I grew up with. Like I had a best friend named D'Angelo, but in the neighborhood we called him D'Lo. And
Right.
so I wanted to name him that character to one to honor that childhood friend, and two, I wanted perspective from like black bisexual men because we
No.
really don't get to hear them and like their side of the story and how they navigate the world. Like, look, he tells Malik, like, look, I like what I like. If we're
Hmm.
gonna have a problem with that, then we don't need to be roommates. And Malik is like, oh, I ain't got no
My
problem with
bad.
that.
No, I don't even know what we're talking about
Listen,
right now. I don't got no
I just
problems.
walked in and people was clapping cheeks. And I was like, oh, this is what we doing? Because Malik is being exposed to different things about college. And so I really wanted to incorporate that and also showcase a queer black character, but also Malik, who is, straight, but
Yeah.
they have like a bromance. Like they have
Hmm.
like a bromance. And you're gonna see more of that in Bones at the Crossroads. I can't wait for people to see their relationship blossom. But also, D'Lo starts dating Savan, who is a
Yes.
non-binary character who is funny and who
Very
is
funny.
heartfelt. And I can't wait for people to see their story and how,
Hmm.
and again, they're going to ask questions about homecoming. There's going to be some homecoming drama in book two involving Savan and how, to see two black queer people love, like, get together and fall in love quickly
Hmm.
and go through college together. Because you always kind of see the black queer man falling in love with the white queer boy.
Yes. As if
It,
we're not as open. We have the
yeah,
ability to be more open if we see more of it and people
it see
see
more of
love.
yeah, exactly. And I wanted that, like, because I feel like after Moonlight, Hollywood said, nope, no more.
No more. That was too
Y'all got it.
beautiful.
That
We
was too
gave y'all
beautiful.
too
That was too,
much.
we gave y'all too much, and now we got to put, we got to center whiteness
Hmm.
into the everyday lives of black people.
Right.
And so I wanted to showcase that
Hmm.
and make it tender and make it fun. And again, I can't wait for people to get more of Savan and D'Lo,
Hmm.
and also Malik and Alexis.
Whew.
The
Not you
childhood.
raising my blood pressure. Oh, free my man's
Listen,
from the shackles
I know,
of
right?
that thieving girl.
I know, and like
My
it's so
poor
beautiful
man's
because
heart.
I know, and Alexis she was inspired by my high school crush, and growing up, going through kindergarten, and like I'm going to marry you one day after high school, and then it doesn't happen,
Right.
but then because there's things life happens, you
Hmm.
grow apart or you in Alexa's case, she gets adopted and Malik gets left behind, and they get reunited in college. And I attribute that love to Jamie and Tea Cake from Their Eyes Were Watching God. That's why Malik opens that chapter. He says,
Yeah.
they say love is like the sea. It's a
Hmm.
moving thing because it's like we moved apart, but we're like the land and we're like the sea, but we're always going to meet, at the
Together.
edge of the world, right, together. And I wanted to showcase that one, to showcase a black boy, what does it look like falling in love through their lens? Because
Hmm.
we always see it from the girl's lens, like,
Yes.
falling for the boy and like how
Very
does the
much.
boy deal with, frustration with the girl, like, oh, I don't know you, and I remember that you had magic, I had magic when we were kids, and that's how we connected and trauma bonding. We don't talk about that a lot when it comes to black men and black women. Sometimes, like, we trauma bond.
Yes.
And how do you move past that? How do you grow your love out of that? And so I really wanted to have that conversation with Malik and Alexis. And there's some complications because it's kind of like Malik is going to go through the series. It's like, well, did I really know this girl? Like, did I
Right.
really? How can I be angry with her? I didn't, she doesn't know me. I don't know her because we spent
That's
so much time apart. So is it insta love or is it
yes.
something? Is it just that trauma bonding again? It's like,
Yes.
okay, I know you at the school. I don't know nobody else. So I'm going to clean myself to you. And it's going to be a beautiful realization that Malik is going to have over the course of the two books about his relationship with Alexis. Like, are they going to be friends? What's going to
Yeah.
happen
Did they just
after?
fall in love after for comfort because he was
Yeah, like,
because he
yeah,
needed comfort because he was searching so much in the book to find some secure stability in a safe space, and he
yeah.
thought she could be it. And that is
And
just so crushing for a young black boy in a world that like just tries to break them down, and black women too. But like, whoo, I was just sitting there like this poor boy,
this poor boy, right?
this poor
and I
boy.
again, and to showcase heartbreak through a young black boy's lens, and how do they deal with it? And yeah, and so I really wanted to showcase all of that. D'Lo and Savon and Malik and Alexis, and even Chancellor Taryn and Lorraine, like they're kind of like their fractured love story because
Listen,
they
because I
they
want
were
the
childhood.
tea.
You'll get it.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think I guessed it, but I don't know yet.
You'll get it. But like how does that, like, again, the heartbreak, like they say cycles, right? Like how do we break these cycles? And so it's going to be a beautiful conversation that Malik is going to have between all of this. And like it's like, wow, like cycles is real. And I'm going to try to break it because I can't go through that.
Yeah,
Not with the person that I'm falling in love with. Is he going to get somebody new? We don't know. Like it's college. So yeah, that was the approach I really wanted to take with like the romance. It's
yeah.
not a lot in Blood at the Root, and I did that on purpose, but the scenes that you do get, I was like, it was strategically, placed in
Place.
this book.
I love
Yeah.
that. So you talked a
Yeah.
lot about language and D'Lo's name, and we talked a little bit before we really
hmm
started the episode. What is the biggest pushback you have gotten since publishing from either readers and or when you were in the writing process with publishers
Hmm.
to really keep yourself authentically black to the story? Because I'll say this, I was
Yeah.
reading, I said, oh, we drop it. We saying everything?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we being real
We
black.
we being
Oh,
real
okay.
black.
So I had to check my own stuff because I was like, "Who, my God, do I want white people to read this?" Right? So I was going
Yeah.
through my own head, like, "Do I want white
hmm
people to read this?" And I said, "But yeah, I do because that's the only way that we can kind of they can see us as like
Yeah.
everything that we are." And I know some people had a problem with it. I said, "But yeah, but this is how we talk. So what are we talking
That's how we
about?"
talk. That's how we talk.
I say it all the
Um,
time at work because I work
mhm.
with all black people. So we say it all the time.
You know how we do. You know how we do. Like
Listen, we be like,
when we get together.
listen.
Like, oh, that be, oh, that nigga, oh, that's
Ooh,
really,
that nigga.
eh,
I said, I don't
that
know
is right,
about him. Listen.
right. So I really didn't get a lot of pushback from my editors, which was very surprising.
Oh,
The only line, and it's in the short film for those who's, it's my favorite line, and the line been with the story because my friend said it at the time when I was explaining this the story of it. So Malik, when he's walking with Chancellor Taryn in the first time he
oh,
arrives to Cayman, he's like, oh, so what is this place? It's kind of like Hogwarts, but for niggas.
yeah.
And my editor at the time, my editor didn't have a problem with it because she was like, "It's funny." She was like, "This is
I
like
was
this
like,
encapsulates the story in itself, and it's
mhm,
also poking fun at Harry Potter because
yeah.
she's wild. Like J.K. Rowling be wild and on Twitter, she be doing a
She
lot." And
has
I'm like,
crushed my
"Girl,
spirit every day.
crushing everybody's." I'm like,
I'm
"Dang,
like,
girl, you
just
really
stop
created.
talking. Please
Stop
go.
talking."
Why do you have so much opinions on America, girl? Go figure
Like,
out
girl, you over
England.
there, right? Tea and crumpets, like,
Listen.
uh,
Oh God.
I wrote that, and so it wasn't until we sent it out. We sent it out for early reviews, or early, like sent it out to other authors and other, for blurbs and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And they had a problem with the line. They said that it was perpetuating transphobia with that line. And I was like,
I don't understand.
I I was like, I don't understand.
Is it because of JK or?
I think it was because it felt like it was associating the book with JK. No, and I was like, oh,
No.
it's poking fun at it.
Yeah.
And that's how we say it. That's
Yeah.
literally, I mean, at that time, literally people on TikTok when they was doing the Black Hogwarts, it's
Right, the
like,
Black Hogwarts.
we, Hufflepuff and niggas like,
Right, right.
don't
Slytherin was the cool
Slip,
and Gryffindor was the snitches.
the snitches, exactly. So it was really poking fun at that. And so I was met with the dilemma of having to take it out. And I was like, okay, LaDarrion, do you want you've gotten everything. You've gotten the cover, you've gotten
Mhm.
the nigga all over the pages.
Yeah.
You gotten like this beautiful black language on this page. Do I want to fight for this one line?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to take it out. I took it out. I made the decision to take it out because I was like, well, I don't want it to overshadow the beautiful story of this young boy. And at the time, I didn't think the other part of the language and like the way Malik speaks and the way the friends speak was going to overshadow it. So I didn't get, that was the only pushback I got from like the editors and like the publishers.
Mm-hmm.
When the book was published and people were reading it, and I'm new to the book world, and I'm a playwright, and I live out, I'm a student of August Wilson and Lorraine Hansberry and James Baldwin as a playwright.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, capture the language of the everyday people, capture the language of those who live in the South, my mom, my uncles, my aunties, my cousins.
Right.
Like really, really captured their language. And I didn't realize that when people were saying like, you're trying to pander to blackness, I was like, I'm black. How can I pander to something?
Yeah.
I didn't understand a lot of it's too black. I literally was hearing it's too black. It's trying to be this. AAVE is too much. And I remembered that Zora Neale Hurston with Their Eyes Were Watching God was going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we love Langston Hughes and all the other authors at that time, but they really disrespected that woman because she wrote how black people in her town talk.
Right.
And she wasn't afraid to put it on the page, even the way down to the way it was spelled on the page. Like we elongate words, we say this and we say that, and people are like, this is just too much. This is too ghetto. I've heard this is what I've heard. And I saw different tweets, and I saw people were taking the scenes out of context and saying this is misogynoir, this is homophobic, and I was like, wait, huh? How do we get here? And it's just so I don't know if it's like trying to center whiteness into our stories and wanting, well, I don't want him to show this in front of all the white people because this is going to make us look bad. I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about when my cousin cracked open the book. He's 17 years old right now, living in the same town that Malik grew up in. And he's like, wow, Malik sounds just like me.
Like me.
Yeah, I'm even looking at this letter that I got from a black kid in 6th grade in Texas, Houston, Texas. He's like, thank you for writing this book because Malik sounds like me.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the black mother who walked up to me and said, thank you for writing this book because my son he's in alternative school right now. He's a troublemaker, but like when he read your book, he's like, Malik is literally me. He sounds like me. He looks like me. And I'm going through some of the same things that he's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And of course, it's my debut, and like there's certain criticism. I'm like, okay, LaDarrion, do better on book 2, do better on book 3. I'm learning. Right. Do I think some of it was targeted? Of course, I think some of it was targeted, and it was taken out of context. But this is how Black folks in the South talk, and again, it goes back to what Malik was talking about in the book, the upper class, like how they look down. Literally, Taryn talks about the way he criticizes the way he talks. It's like you need to take English classes because that's not how you speak. Like, how are you speaking? And I've heard that from people that look like us.
Yeah.
a lot of the times, and people think people from the South are dumb and that
Yes.
they're slow
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't really have no common sense. It's like, no, some of the people, they may speak about the most mundane things from the South, but it's some of the most beautiful poetry that you will ever
Mm-hmm.
hear in the way they speak,
Yes.
um,
And
and the
my
way they
family's from
say.
Texas, so
Oh,
I,
so you know,
yeah, so I know. I know.
yeah,
Listen, I love me a Houston rapper. I love me a Dallas rapper. Like
hmm
right now, Big X the Plug is like one of my favorite rappers right
exactly,
now. The way he
yeah,
just talks is like, oh, I love it. It's just black is authentic. It's everything. And I really just and you
yeah.
deliberately also allowed Malik to be himself, but you did not discount the fact that he was really smart. You also highlighted the fact he was doing really well in school.
He's
Even though
like,
they
that's why.
yeah.
They tried to
They
say that
tried.
he
They
was.
said, I think you need to actually start a little slower. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute
It's
now.
like, no, like, wait a minute. I fought to get good grades so I can get out early and save my
Yes.
little brother.
Right.
And it's just, again, I think it's also too. This is a black boy who's very vocal and he's very outspoken, and a lot of people in the book world don't like that.
No.
They wanted Malik to be. I think, and I maybe shattered a lot of people's expectations with this book. They thought, oh, he wrote about a black boy. He's going to be clean cut. He's going to be
Mhm.
proper. He's going to be my one of my booktuber friends. She says cinnamon roll. They wanted him to be the cinnamon roll black boy in the book.
Cinnamon roll black boy. What does that
Because
even mean?
right, cinnamon roll is perfect, right? Like it's
Oh,
perfect all the way around until you get to that middle. It's very perfect.
don't come in my
No,
kitchen because mines are always bad. They're
listen, I can't
good.
cook.
They
I can't cook, so you probably make them better than I do. So they wanted him to be perfect. They wanted, and the conversations about Black Boy Joy, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, they wanted him to be. They didn't want him to sound or look or talk or act a certain way because this is their version of what a black boy or a black man should be. And it's like, no, you have to decenter yourself from this story because this is a black
Yep.
boy story.
And I had to check myself. Like I said earlier, I checked myself. I said, whoa, oh,
hmm
okay. But then I
Now
was
he
like,
gets a little reckless. He
no,
does. He
yeah, but
said.
then I said to myself, why do I feel like that? Am I
hmm
letting America and me policing myself for white comfortability
hmm
guide me
And that's
to this
real.
story and
And that's
enjoy it?
real.
And
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. This book is great.
Yeah.
This is actually how I talk. Why wouldn't I want
hmm
to see myself reflected authentically in Page? And why wouldn't
Yeah.
I want a young black boy that I know right now that I'm thinking of in my head
hmm
pick this book up and be like, wow, this is going to get me into reading.
Yeah.
This is
And
going to
it
get me to
has
explore worlds and be magical and think I can
and be
conquer the
magical
world.
and be the hero. And I love when people. There was one TikToker. She tagged me because in her first video she was like, I can't with this book. It's a lot. It's too much. The language, the writing, it's too much. And then she said, well, let me try it again. And she listened to the audiobook. And we all know Jalen Hall.
Mhm.
He's on All American. He's
He's amazing.
amazing,
We love All
amazing
American in
young.
our house too.
Yeah, amazing young black actor, but he's also from the South. He's from the
Mhm.
dirty South. And so the way he reads the lines,
Mhm.
and he was even telling me, like, he was telling the director and me in the recording booth, he was like, this is how we talk. Like, he was like, I've never read a book like this on how we actually authentically talk. So when people listen to the audiobook and they read along, they're like, oh, wow.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that's my playwriting coming into play
Yes.
because I write for the everyday
Right.
people. And so it's just interesting. A lot of the conversations and criticism that I found were very interesting. And I talked with my family. And people say like they talk ghetto or this. And I remember my cousin, one of my other cousins, she was reading the reviews while I was back at home in Alabama. And she looked at me and she was like, like, well, Montel, my family calls me Montel. And they were like, that's my middle name. She was like, is this what people think of us?
Mm.
And I was like, how do I answer that?
That's a
Because
good
we
one.
just got done playing spades. They was
Right.
drinking and they was cussing each other out.
Right.
And I remember my uncles, sitting off the side, smoking
Yep.
and chewing tobacco and spitting the tobacco in the.
Oh, my family loved that spit tobacco.
Listen,
I tell my uncle all the time, please stop.
it's
It's
2025. It's
there's so many
2025.
other
Like
alternatives.
it's all so many
But listen, they
alternatives
be
now.
making fun of us. Well, y'all be over there smoking that ganja. I was like, that ganja? Okay, I
Listen, it be
got
making
you.
us feel good sometimes, but I don't know.
Listen,
But
all
that's
right.
just how they do. And I remember I took a video of it, and I was being a little petty. I posted on Twitter, and I posted a passage from the book where Malik describes how his family talks and how his family interacted during Fourth of July. And I said, this is how these are people's real lives, and this is
Right.
how they talk. And when my cousin asked that, I was like, I don't know how to answer that
Mm,
because people look down, like, I
yeah.
live in California, and sometimes people look down on us from
Hmm.
being from the South. Oh, you talk country, you talk like this, like,
Hmm.
oh, I can't understand you. And it's like,
Listen.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm just like, but I knew I was doing something good when my mom said, oh, wow, Mama Aya sounds just like mom. Like, she sounds
Hmm.
just like Big Mama.
Hmm.
And she's kind of being reconnected with her mother who died.
Hmm.
And she said, thank you for writing Mama Aya because that reminds me of Big Mama.
Mm,
So you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
yeah.
I have to focus on that.
Yeah.
You know,
And I love that, the tunnel vision.
yeah,
But I had to
yeah.
ask because, a lot of folks who listen, and even myself included, and
Hmm.
writing is one of the most vulnerable things you
Hmm.
can do, especially
Yeah,
as a Black person, in this Black American in this country, or any place that has
exactly.
been touched by the transatlantic slave trade, where they told us we
Mm,
were not allowed to read, write, we don't have culture, tabla rasa, all that bull crap they try to shove down
hmm.
our throats. And I always like to hear from Black authors, like, how do you deal with it, when
Yeah,
this is something that God has placed on your spirit?
yeah. That's a beautiful question. I think my friend had to, because it got too much. It did. It
Hmm.
got too much. It was on Twitter. It was on Threads. It was on because they were trying to compare my book to another fantasy.
Yes.
There was some
And
salacious
it's
lies.
not the same.
It's not the same. It's
It's
not
not
the
the same.
same.
You guys are totally
And
different.
that black woman is
Yeah, she is.
killing the game. Um,
But why does it always
it's
only got to be one?
it got to be one, and
Because the
we're perpetuating it.
hmm
And my friend, he had to pull over. He had to pull over because I was at a beach for my friend's birthday party, and I was off to the side because I was just feeling so spiritually attacked and mentally attacked and physically attacked. I've never been through this. This is my
hmm
first. Because if I respond, I'm an angry black man.
yeah.
If I do this, my agents are messaging me like they're like, hey, like, are you okay? Like I was like, I'm fine. And so my friend was like, LaDarrion, if you're secure in the foundation and the intention of why you wrote this book, you should not be shaken.
Mm,
You should not be shaken. I knew why I wanted to write this book. I knew that YA fantasy in itself needed to be shaken up. It
hmm
needed to be because we were seeing certain patterns, and we
right.
were seeing certain patterns in plays and books and movies and TV shows. It needed to be shaken up in a certain way. And so he was like, you that nigga. Like, you that
Yeah.
nigga.
Yeah.
Look what you've accomplished. Because, my friends knew I was homeless. They knew I
Yeah.
was trying to be out here in LA, trying to put my plays up, trying to get Hollywood to look at me and say, I have a story too.
Hmm.
And they were rejecting this story because they kept saying it's not marketable. Nobody's gonna want this story.
Hmm.
And then he was like, dude, you hit the New York Times bestseller with a black boy in a hoodie
On the
on
cover,
a
having
cover
magic spew from his hand,
for his fans
when we're just celebrating what would have been the 30th birthday of
of Trayvon.
Trayvon Martin.
And that's why I put that black boy on that cover in that hoodie. Because when I was in college, it was the Trayvon Martin's case.
Hmm.
And we couldn't wear hoodies. My mama was like, do not, I know it's 30 degrees outside, but when you get in that car, take that hoodie off.
Hmm.
Put it on and get in the house. Don't wear that hoodie outside and don't, what I'm saying? Don't get in no
Right.
trouble. And I knew when I went to my publishers, I was like, this book cover has to make a statement.
Hmm.
I don't want no other characters. I don't want nothing else. I don't want a symbol. I want a black boy with a hoodie because, again, from the title, from the Spanish moss tree that you see with the blue
Hmm.
bottles hanging,
Yes.
we're reclaiming it. We're taking it back, and we're gonna say, look, this is our history, and it comes with a lot of pain and trauma. But I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, and look at me. I'm a black boy in the South casting the same magic on the same land that my ancestors fought and bled on. I'm
Mm.
gonna talk like them. I'm gonna listen to their music. I listen to Kendrick. I listen to J. Cole, not Drake.
Slay Drake.
Not Drake.
Slay Drake.
But also he listens to gospel, right?
Right.
He listened to that old
Mhm.
slave hymns, and he's so interconnected. It's a beautiful thing with when he meets his great great grandmother. It's a
Yes.
beautiful scene where he's like, I see this black woman running through the woods using her magic, and she's setting those people free,
Hmm.
and she speaks with a beautiful, broken English, as they call it,
Hmm.
but she's casting this magic in this beautiful language in Creole, in Haitian
Hmm.
Creole. I'm incorporating all of that into this book. And so I knew from the very beginning, I knew it was going to be hard. And I knew it was going to be, I was going to suffer the slings and arrows. I knew it. But at that time, but then when people were, I think when it died down, people were like, wait a minute, what are y'all talking about?
Right.
This book is for us. It's by us. It's this, it's that.
Hmm.
And even sitting down with you as a black woman, like I'm very appreciative of it because I just want to, give my side of the story. This is not my intention, or
Hmm.
this is a black boy story. Like
Yes.
there's black women in it, and also the
Right.
black women are the strongest characters.
They are.
They're the most powerful. And if you read the end of the book,
Mhm. Oh,
there's a
listen. Oh,
professor that shows up.
when you dropped that, I was like, ah, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Come
let's
on,
go.
America.
Like I'm,
Oh, let's freak it. Because a lot of
yeah,
people do not know her story. That's
her
when
story.
we always talk about the Salem witch trials. We never talk
Hmm.
about the fact that Black women were the most impacted by the Salem witch trials.
And they don't want you to,
They
we're
don't
the
want you to
daughters
know.
of, what they say, we're the daughters of
The witches you would have burned. I said, no, you're
burnt.
not.
No, you're
You're the
not.
ones who are making the outfits and cutting out the mask. What are we talking about? Stop it.
Because y'all were burning the black women. Y'all weren't burning the white women.
Come on now.
And
While
so,
we
and
in
I can't
garlands
wait.
covering up our hair with these
Yeah,
laws.
taking down laws, yeah. And I can't wait for people to, when Tisha becomes on the
Hmm.
scene, little sort of, well, when she comes on the scene, she gonna shake some stuff up. And Malika's gonna be like, yo, like I thought I knew about history and I thought I knew about the world, but like I didn't know all of this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's how I'm dealing with it. I went into book two when Beyonce said, AOTY didn't win, I'm gonna come back and F up the pen.
Yeah.
That was my mentality of book two and book three. Like, okay, but wait till you get book two.
Listen. So that's where
Yeah.
I actually want to end. What exciting upcoming projects and what can you tell us thus far about Bones at the Crossroads?
Yeah, Bones at the Crossroads, which comes out July 29th. So it's fall semester. So we all know what that means. There's homecoming, marching bands, and Halloween parties,
Hmm.
and there's gonna be some drama. There's gonna be some drama, and there's gonna be blood. There's gonna be some things that's gonna shake up Cayman University forever, and Malik
Hmm.
is gonna be at the epicenter of it. And it's gonna have a question of like, should I fight for a school that doesn't want me there? Should I fight for a place? I'm tired of fighting for a place that doesn't want me here.
Mm.
We're going to get some answers regarding Malik's mom and Taryn
Hmm.
and their relationship and their how they fractured this young black boy's life
Hmm.
because they couldn't get themselves together while they were in college. And you're going to see a lot more history, or you're going to read a lot more about history and why things are the way they are. And yeah, there's going to be some new characters. There's a new family member that's showing up that's gonna,
Is it a
when,
grass baby? Is it a grass baby? Now you know I'm
listen,
from the South. I'm using grass
listen,
baby.
okay, listen. You know how when people die, die in black families, that one family member comes back to try to lay claims on something, and they
Oh.
haven't been around in years.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what you can expect from Bones at the Crossroads. Please pre-order now. So yeah, and I'm working on book three. I'm getting that ready to turn in a few weeks, and I'm ready to explore other worlds in the YA fantasy genre. I'm going to stay in YA fantasy. I'm praying that my publishers is like, well, Blood at the Root is done so well, so hopefully they give me another book deal. I'm gonna explore a lot more stories that are inspired by like Virginia Hamilton, like The People Could
Hmm.
Fly,
Hmm.
the African American folklore. I really want to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into African American folklore because we got some cool folklore
We really do.
that we don't really get to see be told,
Not
and
at all.
so I'm really interested in in other worlds. Like you
Mhm.
may see kingdoms like in the backyards of people in Alabama, like whole hidden fairy tale kingdoms.
Oh,
And
I can't wait.
yeah, that's what I'm interested in telling, like, and it's always it's gonna be the black boy at the forefront. That's
I
my
love it.
mission to
I
make it
love
more.
it.
So yeah, that's what you can find.
So where can the people find you?
Find me on Twitter, find me on Threads. I'll be talking some ish on Threads now.
I
Especially
love
after
threads.
This Beyonce ticket,
I
snafu.
was fighting for
Uh, Fighting for a lot. It was the Hunger Games, y'all.
free me from the
So,
shackles of Ticketmaster.
oh Lord, they need to be crumbled to the ground. Like,
Listen.
yeah. So you can find me Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
Mhm.
At It's LaDarrion. Instagram too. Did I say Instagram? Instagram as well at It's LaDarrion. I post regularly. I post about Blooded Through all the time, and to pump out that imagery because I want you to see this beautiful black boy on both book covers
Mhm.
because the second book cover is
It's
epic.
fire. Yeah, it's
It's
fire.
yes, it's epic and it's beautiful, and I'm gonna keep pumping that imagery out because I want people to get used to it. So yeah, that's where you can find me. That's where you can find me and talking ish about the industry and yeah, other things.
Well, I appreciate you for one, your vulnerability, your
Yeah,
pen, and taking time with us today. So, y'all, this is another episode of but make it books.
yeah.
Always, always keep healing, y'all, but make it bookish. Peace, y'all.